Water Loop.
Welcome to Water Loop, the nonprofit news outlet exploring solutions for sustainability and equity in water. I'm the host, Travis Loop. The Golden State of Reuse, a series exploring the past, present, and future of water recycling across California. The content is a collaboration with Water Reuse California. California's Central Coast is turning recycled water into a lifeline for rivers, golf courses, farms, and coastal communities, showing how reuse can work far beyond the big cities. In this episode, Nick Becker of Pebble Beach Community Services District, Alison Imamura of Monterey One Water, and Melanie Schumacher of Soquel Creek Water District share how their communities are rethinking every drop. Before starting the episode, we want to acknowledge the supporters who made this series possible. Thanks to Platinum sponsor CDM Smith, Gold sponsor Sacramento Area Sewer District, Silver sponsor Black & Veatch, and Bronze sponsor Monterey One Water.
From pilot studies to full-scale facilities, CDM Smith helps utilities and industrial leaders navigate complex regulatory, technological, and operational challenges.
Commitment to innovation is a culture that's actually embedded within CDM Smith, and it's something that each and every one of us strives to do to meet the needs of our clients.
CDM Smith is dedicated to strengthening water supply portfolios with sustainable and cost-effective reuse solutions. Learn more at cdmsmith.com/reuse.
Water recycling is not just limited to Southern California. I've come up to the Central Coast. I'm in the Monterey area, specifically in Pebble Beach. This is an early example of using recycled water for a beneficial use. Here, it's to irrigate Pebble Beach and the other iconic golf courses. I'm going to talk to Nick Becker of the Pebble Beach Community Services District about the history and how that practice continues today.
We do provide recycled water to our customers here, which are 7 golf courses and 1 high school, Robert Louis Stevenson High School, and their athletic fields. And what led to that was all of that water is namely provided via potable water in the past. And in around the 1980s, there was a series of severe droughts throughout California that really did affect us locally as well, and really kind of sparked the idea and the need for looking at an alternative water supply. And naturally, in looking at our infrastructure here in Pebble Beach and also some of our surrounding communities in Carmel, there was existing wastewater infrastructure already in the ground, so that source water, if you will, for our recycled water project was there. It was just a matter of building the infrastructure to treat the water and distribute it back to Pebble Beach so that we could then use it for recycled water on the golf courses. The privately owned golf courses out here were inherently interested in finding an alternative water supply just for longevity, cost control, and some autonomy in having control over the future of water for them. Shortly after we went into operation in the mid-1990s, we did note that water quality became an issue, as well as long-term storage. We didn't have the ability to bank water in the wintertime. That inherently became a problem for the longevity of the project. And it really, the water quality issue really pertained to the amount of salt buildup that we're starting to see in the soils, which became an issue for a lot of the superintendents and the golf course operation.
What was that salt doing to the golf courses?
So when you irrigate with high salt content, it tends to build up in the soils, and that can be detrimental to the grass. And in order to combat that, you either have to flush it with potable water, or you have to go back to the source water to reduce the amount of salt content. So that's what we looked at. So the second phase of our project that was built in around the early 2000s, I think 2005, 2006, we did some improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. We put in some advanced water treatment, including microfiltration and reverse osmosis. And then we also had the opportunity to acquire some property here in Pebble Beach and resurrect an old reservoir and gain about 115 million gallons of storage capacity for the project.
You mentioned how, during the winter, they're not needing to irrigate and water the courses much, right? That's a little bit more of the rainy season, cooler weather.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the ability we have now in the wintertime with the reservoir that we did acquire back in the early 2000s to what we call bank water, if you will, store water in the wintertime, because we do tend to run the treatment plant. Obviously, it runs 24/7, 365, and we have the ability to produce that recycled water every day. So when the rainy season does come, the golf courses naturally don't need to take recycled water. They have the natural precipitation to irrigate the golf courses. So at that point in time, we're able to store that excess recycled water and then use it later on when it's needed during the peak summer season of irrigation.
When, the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, looking at using recycled water for irrigation of golf courses, were there examples elsewhere that were studied, or on the other side of that, have courses elsewhere kind of looked at what's happened here with using recycled water to learn what they could do?
Yeah, from what I understand, it was it was a little bit of a pioneering project. I think recycled water in the late 80s, early 90s was starting to emerge as a supplemental resource, if you will. And here in Pebble Beach, I think we were one of the first to actually look at a complete golf course as far as using recycled water. In the past, I think a lot of tees and greens had been used with potable water, kind of a combination of recycled water on the fairways and potable water on the tees and greens. But I think the intent and the original goal of this project was really to develop a project that was completely sustainable on recycled water. And as I mentioned earlier, we had some issues with the salt content. We had to do some potable water flushing. So in order to really kind of meet that long-term goal of becoming 100% recycled 365 days a year, that's why we went and invested in additional treatment down at the treatment plant to really meet that project goal.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a lesson learned from here that other courses elsewhere,
So no, I have to give a lot of credit from a sustainability standpoint to our golf course superintendents out here. They've had a long history of stewardship on the water resource since we started the recycle project. They've evolved over time. They're always very innovative. We've looked at during golf course renovations of reducing irrigated turf, which has helped the project. And then in addition to that, anytime a golf course has been renovated, they're putting in the latest and greatest irrigation systems, which myself as an engineer have always been fascinated with, and understanding how sophisticated these systems are. Today, these modern systems are SCADA controlled, so the superintendents have the ability to go in and program individual sprinkle heads to operate at individual times, to discharge water at varying angles and degrees. They also, during the irrigation season, will fly drones in order to obtain infrared imagery and understand where the hot spots are on the golf course. So they'll adjust their watering daily based on that, even do specific spot watering where they'll go out and hand water areas. And it's all driven for sustainability and stewardship of the resource, because it is a shared resource amongst the 7 golf courses, and everyone does their part in order to not over irrigate and wants to really harness that water and use it to their best capability.
California's nearly 1,000 golf courses, covering roughly 144,000 acres, represents one of the state's largest irrigated landscapes and one of its biggest opportunities for recycled water. Across the state, many courses now rely on non-potable or recycled supplies, with recent analysis showing that around 40% of California golf courses use some form of reclaimed or non-potable water. The appeal is straightforward. Turf needs water every day, even in drought. Recycled water provides a reliable, secure source that reduces pressure on drinking water supplies, while giving utilities a long-term customer that helps stabilize system economics. But this opportunity is bigger than irrigation. Through golf, it's a highly visible way to show communities how reuse works, where it goes, and why it matters, turning fairways into demonstration sites for sustainability. I'm here at Monterey One Water. Their water recycling is truly pioneering. It's a holistic approach where they are taking water from multiple sources. This includes municipal wastewater, urban stormwater, agricultural runoff, plus industrial waste. and they are recycling that and putting it back into the groundwater. Very excited to talk to Alison Imamura about how this project has made a great impact.
The region has had a number of water quality challenges. It started with, back in the 90s, with an order by the State Water Resources Control Board to limit the amount of water that the region uses from the Carmel River. So that was the core impetus for starting the planning and design for the Pure Water Monterey project. The region also faces other challenges like water quality. For example, the Salinas River and its subsidiaries are fed by agricultural drainage, and the project sought to expand its reach and provide other water resource benefits. So there were multiple reasons for sort of the initiation and goals of the project.
Could you talk about this idea that you actually wanted more water coming in to treat than you would have, and just what that looked like?
Our plant essentially provides a good majority of water that is needed for 12,000 acres of farmland in the Salinas Valley. When the groups that came together to develop Pure Water Monterey realized that there was going to be a need to maintain that amount of water that was going to the agricultural demands, they quickly realized that we wanted to make sure that we could sustain production even in the summertime when agricultural demands were high. So there was a lot of brainstorming, in fact, for decades, on other sources of water that we could bring in and use for recycling.
Yeah, so this kind of holistic approach is really fascinating. What are the four major sources that you identified and now bring in?
So obviously we have the traditional municipal wastewater from our residential and commercial areas and a few industrial users. But we also then initially sought out and brought in stormwater from the city of Pacific Grove. They were trying to solve some water quality issues in terms of making sure that the ocean discharges that they had from their runoff of urban land would be protecting water quality, essentially. So that sort of triggered everyone to realize, like, there's these other waters that we could possibly bring in, treat and use. There's a industrial wastewater area in the city of Salinas that's historically been small and has grown over time as economies of producing more produce has led to more wastewater. We were also in the process of developing plans to use agricultural tile drainage water and runoff from agricultural areas. And there were surface water bodies that were found to be in violation of the Clean Water Act. And so we took the opportunity to explore and plan and design for taking those waters and conveying them into the wastewater system.
Oh, fascinating. I'd kind of like to move through each of those and learn a little bit more about how you connected to that water source and got it here. So the urban stormwater runoff from Pacific Grove, how do you go about capturing that and getting it to your facility?
Yeah, so that was a City of Pacific Grove initiated project. And the critical part about stormwater capture is that you get a lot of runoff in a very short amount of time. But the pollutant load in stormwater comes really what they call the first flush. So the first day of a wet season is when a lot of the pollutants are washed off of the roads and into water bodies. So the City of Pacific Grove designed a system that would capture that first flush. And it was somewhat regulatory driven, but we've kind of modeled that when we look at runoff from the city of Salinas as well, which is the source that we were also trying to take in, is that other stormwater source. And we modeled that idea of make sure to capture that first flush to reduce the pollutant load on water bodies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they have a stormwater system that all kind of funnels, captures their stormwater. And basically it was a matter of, instead of sending it to the ocean, send it to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
It involves wet wells and monitoring and pump stations that are sized appropriately.
Then moving to the agricultural runoff, this is really interesting to me because I've seen how they've taken tile drains on farms and just created ponds to capture that water and reuse it for irrigation. So it's amazing to hear about a treatment facility tapping into that. Tell me how that works.
So in the Salinas Valley, it's essentially the area that we're irrigating is a former floodplain area, very flat, very high groundwater levels because of a very dense clay aquiclude, we call it, or it's a dense layer of clays that prevent water from percolating more deeply. So what the growers do to make agricultural productive in that area is, yes, they put this agricultural tile drains, they have collection pipes that feed the water to deep channels or ditches. And so the agricultural runoff that we primarily tap into is at the lower end of the watershed of thousands of acres of agricultural land, where right before it would dump into the natural Salinas River channel. And the process of getting the permit for that was very complex because we had to do a lot of modeling of hydrology. We had to go to the State Water Resources Control Board, request for permission, a water right to get that water. We had to design a facility that could handle and we could manage to prevent taking in too much water when we don't need it. So we do have a lot of controls on that water. We also have to analyze for certain constituents before we take it into our treatment facility. So we have online analyzers that meter and measure pH, temperature, and different constituents that we don't want to have coming into our treatment plant.
Sure.
Could disrupt our processes.
And the last one, you mentioned kind of the industrial use, and you said that's really tied to the huge produce industry that's here, and even washing and cleaning that produce. And so tell me how you, I guess, again, tapped into that source to get it.
Yeah, so back in 2013, we did a temporary shunt, we called it. It was basically a rubber bladder we stuck in the existing pipe that caused it to be able to be kind of collected and put into our traditional municipal wastewater system. So that temporary shunt lasted for about 2 or 3 years. After that time, we put in a permanent shunt, which was a series of valves, a flow meter, and then again, that water quality analysis tools that we needed. And so now we can control whether we take the water or not from our control room here at the regional treatment plant, based on looking first at what the water quality looks like in that industrial wastewater. We also built another diversion, which is an enhanced way to take the water, which is from the city's treatment facilities. It goes through aeration at the treatment facility, so it reduces some of the organic load. It goes into the ponds there where historically they only percolated and evaporated the water. Now we have a pump station that fills with water from the pond, and we pump that water into our conveyance system when we need it, or when they need us to take the water. And it's brought into our headworks of our regional treatment plant, which is where all the municipal wastewater collects and begins its treatment process.
I guess lastly, tell me where this water ends up. You mentioned some other situations, but really the sustainability purpose of this project. Could you tell me where that water goes and how much you've kind of achieved ever since it's been online?
Yeah, so I mean, the tertiary water, I don't know the exact number that we've delivered, but we've been delivering water for since late 1990, so I think it's 35 years. And it's been a huge benefit to the economy. 12,000 acres of ag land, which may not have been able to be farmed because the water underneath the farmland is intruded with seawater. We've been able to provide a fresh water supply to those farms, helping the economy. We have a $6 billion agricultural industry. So having that as a benefit to the economy, to the growers that own the land in that area has been huge. And then the Pure Water Monterey project came online because of the state cease and desist order, which was attempting to protect the Carmel River habitat, including endangered species like steelhead and red-legged frog. And this project essentially is a 1-to-1 reduction in how much water that the region uses from the Carmel River. So you think of the 6 billion gallons that's 6 billion gallons less water that was taken from the Carmel River system.
And where's that water going?
That the Pure Water Monterey project is the indirect potable reuse project, so it goes into the groundwater basin. And CalAm customers, California American Water Company, is the purveyor of the water, of the potable water. They use it to deliver to their customers on the Monterey Peninsula.
Incredible.
Instead of using the Carmel River.
Modern water reuse in California is no longer just about treating municipal wastewater. It's about integrating multiple sources, stormwater, agricultural drainage, industrial effluent, and more into a unified system of benefits. By capturing diverse flows, for example, stormwater's first flush, industrial rinse water, or drainage from agricultural tile systems, utilities can boost water supply reliability, reduce discharge to the ocean or rivers, and protect groundwater basins. The state's framework supports this. The California State Water Resources Control Board counts multiple water use categories under its recycled water metrics. But shifting from single-source reuse to multi-source systems brings complexity. Managers must account for varying water quality, source blending, treatment adaptability, and regulatory oversight. But the payoff? A more resilient water supply portfolio. The future of water recycling is not going to just be the mega cities. It's going to depend on small communities adopting this practice. I am here in the town of Soquel in the Monterey Bay area to learn how they have created a project that's going to purify wastewater and put it back in the ground to fight saltwater intrusion. I'm going to talk to Melanie Schumacher about what they're doing here at the Soquel Creek Water District.
The Soquel Creek Water District is located in Santa Cruz County. That's right between San Francisco and Monterey. Really at the heart of the issue here is we don't have any imported water. So for our region, we're not tied to state or federal import water. It's only local water that falls from the Santa Cruz Mountains and then comes and percolates into the groundwater basin or goes into local streams. We like to say there's a lot of straws in the groundwater basin, and they're all drinking out of the same glass, which is our mid-county groundwater basin. Over time, historically, more water has been taken out of the basin than could be naturally replenished by rainfall. And so I think a condition here along the coast, what happens is seawater intrusion happens where salt water and ocean water starts to creep into the groundwater basin. And it's hitting more of those coastal wells, some of the farm areas that we don't serve but are within this basin. And then further down, like in the Monterey area, it really has gone inland all the way into Salinas. If salt water starts to come in, it contaminates it. It can be irreversible, and basically it fouls the water. So it doesn't become fresh. It's too salty to drink, and then the only way to remediate it is to drill wells farther inland or look for another water supply. So we were in a position in 2014, the state of California passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, and that was like monumental legislation for California. All along California, we were one of the last states in the U.S. to have managed water supplies of groundwater. And locally, what it did was it kind of created a scarlet letter per se, because 21 groundwater basins in California are designated as critically overdrafted, which means we are required by mandate to bring the basin back into sustainability by 2040. So it was like game on is kind of like what my predecessor has designated the situation. We needed to come together. We needed to have a solution. And it was, I think, a driving force of why the project has been successful.
So give me a little detail here on how it works. Your source of water, what you're doing to it, where it's going to go. Talk me through the process.
The whole, I think, driver for this project was to recapture some of that water and put it to beneficial reuse. We have that secondary effluent travel about 4 miles to this location we're here. And then it goes through the advanced water purification facility, and it goes through a multi-step treatment process where we hit it with ozone, we hit it with microfiltration, reverse osmosis, UV light, and advanced oxidation. And then because this facility is a potable reuse project for groundwater replenishment, we also do some post-treatment where we remineralize the water. And then it goes another 4 miles out to 3 strategically located seawater intrusion prevention wells. And those recharge wells take that water and then create the freshwater seawater intrusion barrier. They raise groundwater protection levels, and then eventually that water is going to become groundwater that our wells behind it will pull it and then treat it and then serve it to our customers.
What an incredible journey the water will go on. I'm very curious about how you have funded this. These types of recycled water projects have a definite cost. They provide a great return on investment and water resilience. But how did your community put the financing together for this?
We were able to secure grants through the state, through the Prop 1 grant program, and through the federal U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's Title 16. And then the remaining balance was through low-interest loans through the state as well as through the U.S. EPA WIFIA program. So we're very lucky. Our finance manager calls this the miracle project, because if we had funded this through just traditional financing at $90 million, what the project we thought would cost, and at about 3%, it's actually more expensive than the project cost doubling and getting the grants and the low interest loans.
Another key element for water recycling is the public awareness and acceptance. Could you talk a little bit about how you have engaged your community to get them on board with this?
Yes, I think for us specifically, Soquel Creek Water District prioritized technology and making sure that the project was designed, as well as equally important, the outreach and the communication bundled with the project. A project's solution and the evolution of success is, I think, almost more driven by the outreach, because it takes so long for people to understand and, I think, get on board with a project. So many projects, I think, get stuck or don't actually ever come to fruition because people don't understand what it's doing. So we had to first focus on the why, which is exactly what you asked us, like, what was the project driver? And then we educated people on what the project was, really having them understand the technology, understanding that don't judge water by its source, but judge the water by what comes out of it, the product water, which our purified water is cleaner and of higher quality than treated groundwater and surface water.
Science is at the core of what you're doing, and what happens to kind of monitor the health of the groundwater, and especially after time, to see the impacts of this recycled purified water going back down there?
Right. So because of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and the provisions and requirements by the state, there's a very robust monitoring program, both related to just this project as a recycled water project, but also that this project is going to meet the state mandate of being sustainable. So within the project and the regulatory framework of it, they'll be monitoring both the water quality samples around the seawater intrusion prevention wells, just to ensure that the water is of high quality and is, meeting the state standards. Additionally, we have monitoring all along the coast to ensure that we're meeting our basin management objectives of creating a sustainable water supply. So it's a robust and I think needed monitoring to ensure that we're meeting the project's objectives.
You're the size of your community. How many people are in Soquel?
We have about 40 to 50,000 people, so we're very small. We went up to the state once and somebody called us an itty-bitty water agency. When you compare us to like Metropolitan or some other areas in Southern California, And, I think we like to say we're small but mighty. And also we have a very large water supply problem.
Well, what does it say that a community that is small, I won't call you itty bitty though, that a community that is small or smaller in size is able to put together a project like this?
I think it says that, anybody can do this. I don't think you should never measure your agency by size and what you can do. I think when you're faced with a challenge where you need to do something, you rally. The other thing is that these projects need partnerships, strong partnerships, and working together, not just with other agencies, but with your community. We also kind of created this thing called #InThisTogether. And that was, where we worked with our local community. We had people like from the Chamber of Commerce, we had neighborhood groups, we had everybody who, if they believed in needing a water supply, then they needed to try to believe in our project.
Small water systems are essential to California's reuse future, with 84% of the state's water systems serving fewer than 10,000 residents. Scaling recycled water isn't just about major cities. It depends on smaller communities building their own right-sized projects. Across the state, small towns are expanding recycled irrigation, installing modular treatment units, and partnering regionally to share expertise and infrastructure. These projects are made possible by funding sources designed for systems with limited staff and budgets. The Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds offer low-interest loans and principal forgiveness for disadvantaged communities. The Water Recycling Funding Program supports planning, design, and construction of reuse systems. Integrated regional water management grants help areas collaborate, pool resources, and build multi-benefit projects. Smaller systems in California are proving that water reuse is achievable and is a resilient strategy for rural communities, mountain towns, irrigated valleys, and coastal districts alike. Next, I visited Denver Grant, a water sampling technician, to see how the district monitors seawater intrusion and the health of groundwater.
This is one of our coastal monitoring wells. We have about 84 throughout the district. And what they do is they inform us on the quality of the groundwater and also saltwater intrusion throughout the district. We take what is called low flow sampling from these wells. And so they're screened at different levels in the aquifer. And historically, when you would take groundwater samples, what you would do is you would turn on a production well at however many 100 gallons per minute, and you would just take a sample of the water. But what that does is when you turn on those big pumps is it stirs up everything in the aquifer, and you don't really get a representative sample of what's happening when the aquifer is static and stable. So we use low flow sampling to try and get a little snapshot of what the aquifer is doing when it's not being pumped. And we're trying just to get a little grab of still native groundwater. And so it's very slow. It's usually in the 100 to 500 milliliters per minute is the flow rate that we're trying to capture. And we're looking for chlorides, total dissolved solids, nitrates, and then just a general mineral panel. And that helps our consultants be informed on where we should be pumping. That was helpful in figuring out where Pure Water Soquel should be injecting and just how we're to better manage our basin sustainably.
Thanks again to the sponsors that made this series possible: CDM Smith, Sacramento Area Sewer District, Black & Veatch, and Monterey One Water. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Golden State of Reuse, a series in collaboration with Water Reuse California. If you want to support Waterloop's ongoing exploration of water solutions, subscribe on YouTube, rate and review the podcast on Spotify and Apple, follow us on social media at The Waterloop, and sign up for email updates at waterloop.org.
You're in the Waterloop.